Okay, we had the scanner's down, so I'm screwed up, right? Because I always have to do my morning scanner for at least 2 hours. That's my afternoon entertainment. Morning entertainment is movies, anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 hours, and afternoon entertainment is scanner from 2 to 3 hours, and then evening entertainment. If I'm in a Trimet mood, I'll keep doing Trimet. But we don't have any scanner, but we have this Tom Mills thing here. It's an hour long, which is ridiculous. Tom Mills is one of their chief propagandists. Let's hear what he says.
Welcome to Seismic Airwaves, a podcast about disaster centered on earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest of North America. I'm your host, Sabina Roan, coming at you from Portland, Oregon.
Okay, move it up.
That was Tom Mills, Director of Policy and Planning at Trimet.
Where?
In this episode, we'll hear from Tom and other staff at Trimet on how they're coping with difficulties
let's hear these
due
bureaucrats.
to the coronavirus pandemic. Trimet is the largest public transportation agency in the Portland region and runs the MAX light rail and an extensive bus network. Before we dive in, I want to say thanks for listening, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast.
Seismic
There's a lot to learn about disasters so we can move forward resiliently. I started this project as part of my degree program in urban planning at Portland State University, but I hope to continue to use this platform to share these important information, and I hope it will provide you some value too.
Okay, thank you.
Right now we have a small but mighty team helping out put together these episodes while simultaneously dealing with their own life stuff during the pandemic. We appreciate all of your support. You can follow the podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Seismic Airwaves. You can leave a review wherever you're listening, and if you're able to donate to help us continue this work, we'd greatly appreciate it. We're on Patreon at Seismic Airwaves, and you can also reach out by email at seismicairwaves@gmail.com. This episode is a collaboration with the Portland chapter.
All right, get to the goddamn
transportation, also known as YPT. And at the end, there'll be a little more information about how you can get involved with YPT if you'd like to learn more. Tom? This recording is drawn from a webinar presented on April.
All right, move it forward.
Brenda Martin, also Trimet staff, will introduce Tom and frame the presentation. And then Brenda and Chad Tucker
Come on. Oh, shit.
Hello, and welcome.
Oh, no. Whoops.
Hello, and welcome to Seismic Airwaves.
I'm having problems. Technical difficulties. Oh. Shit, man.
This project owes no small part to Dr. Shee. Dr. Shah has found in her research other types of disturbances in your research. So what type of impact does that have generally on a region?
Well, it depends on the intensity of the earthquake, right? So
minor
earthquake may not cause much damage. It could be someone will feel the shaking. It's scary, and
what is? Oh wait a minute, that's not wrong fucking thing, man.
Cracks on the windows,
Christ.
or
I got the wrong goddamn fucking podcast.
Welcome to Seismic Airwaves, a podcast about disaster centered on earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest of North America. I'm your host, Sabina Roan.
I'm having all kinds of problems here. I'm sorry.
Learn about disasters so we can move forward resiliently.
All right.
16th, 2020. Brenda Martin, also Trimet staff, will introduce
in charge of
here we go.
all
Finally.
of the bus service and
how much
funding
time did I
that
waste?
comes in for service
that was 4
through
minutes.
The state and the feds to really work on long-range transportation planning, so our service enhancement plans and all of our annual service plan changes. He leads the team that works on any sort of frequency change or route changes that we might do anytime we move a bus to frequent service, like we did in March. Or state funding bus service to COVID-19. He is an expert.
Yes, he's wonderful. He's great. We want to get to it.
Of a people mover across this country. Buses can provide service to more people faster because they're more nimble and flexible in adapting to route changes, and so are able to go more places.
Buses are number one.
And it's generally a lot cheaper to implement and maintain a fleet of buses than build and maintain a rail line.
So I first want to talk about what happened. So, as we all know, on March 23rd, there was a stay-at-home order from the governor. And soon after that, I think the Monday, let's see, that was on a Monday. I may have gone into work that following Tuesday, and I think that was the last day I went into work. And I will tell you that I was riding the line 2, and I live near Division Street, kind of close in Southeast Portland. I got on board and I saw 4 people on the bus, and this was during rush hour.
4 people.
And when I got off the bus, there may have been 4 people still on the bus.
Oh, 4 people.
So I saw immediately the impact of that stay-at-home order and what that meant for us in terms of ridership. We are experiencing a huge, deep.
By the way, if there was ever evidence to support fare-free transit, this is it, okay? If we had a fare-free transit system set up, there would have been no economic impact on the short term. But we have a neoliberal country which is based on extracting wealth from its citizens. And so it's that fare, although it's only like 15% at the most of Trimet, they're making a big deal out of it, that they're not making the money. Let's hear what he says.
Decrease in riders right now, reasonably so, and we are encouraging people not to ride unless it's for essential reasons. But that has a big impact on us. Additionally, the stay-at-home order has led to businesses having to lay people off, and that has another big impact on us in terms of payroll tax collections. There's really 3 major sources of funding for Trimet's operations. One is fare revenue, and then the other are 2 sources of payroll tax.
The fare revenue,
the employer payroll tax.
The fare revenue is the smallest piece of this.
So every employer in the region pays a certain percentage of their salary to the state, and then it comes to Trimet to support the transit service. And then, of course, every employee in the state spends or pays 1/10 of 1% of their salary to the state and then to Trimet to also support transit service. So you can see that all 3 of those sources of funding are being impacted by the stay-at-home order. And, this is not to kind of be accusatory to the governor. We all support the stay-at-home order, but it does have impacts on our service, on our revenue, which will have impacts on our service. So just to give you a sense, these are estimated boardings, and you can see our February average, we were, and these are weekly boardings, our February average, we were a little bit under 2 million boardings per week. And then you can see that decline, and really between the week of March 8th and March 15th, kind of fell off the cliff right there. And then we've been, maybe plateauing a little bit right now. So we seem to have stabilized, but now we're, just over 500,000 per week. So that's less than 100,000 a day, whereas before we were closer to 300,000 a day. So it's been a big impact, and let's hope it's relatively short term. In terms of payroll tax, this, of course, first I must say I shamelessly steal from the internet. This was stolen from the New York Times. The economic.
All right, let's look at this for a minute, because I just looked at this. See this here? They've changed their budget here. Okay. They say they're going to lose $20 million in fares. They're going to lose Medicaid, $4 million, whatever this Econo Force, I don't know what that is. Estimated cash flow of receipts is up 20,000. Miscellaneous. So they say they're going to lose 42 million. Okay, but Trump just gave them 125 million. So what's the fucking problem here? It says right here, look at this. Subtotal, this is revenue projections, estimated reduction through June, $42 million. All right? But Trump just handed them $125 million. What's the fucking problem? I don't get it, man. Everything should be fine. Oh, it's such a scam.
Economic Policy Institute, apparently. But this is a national figure, but it really gives you a sense of what is the scale of the job losses right now. Some of you may have seen this already online. This is showing you weekly unemployment filings over, a history of them since 1967. And, you can see here in 1982 was the peak. It was actually just slightly higher than 2008 or 2010, whenever that peak is. And that is all just dwarfed by what we were experiencing. And frankly, that is showing you the week ending March 21st. Last week's unemployment.
All right, look at this, man. This is important information here. Forget about him. They reduced bus service 20%, and they reduced light rail service 8%. So light rail service was barely touched. I don't know. This looks to me like they're okay.
Employment filings were over 6 million. So, and then this week's, just yesterday, they reported unemployment filings over 5 million. So that's on a national scale, and that is enormous. This next one, also stolen from the New York Times, is showing you Oregon. And this was, I believe this was last week. I don't have dates on this, and I apologize. Oh, yeah, no, I don't have dates. But the weekly average going into last week was 7,100 unemployment claims a week. And last week it was 22,000 here in Oregon. And actually, earlier today, I think I saw a number of this current week. It's closer to 50,000 now. So it's enormous. It's big. And as the biggest employer or employment region in the state, you can imagine that we're going to be experiencing the largest percentage of those unemployment filings. Again, let's hope that it's relatively short term, but it is a large number. So what does that really mean? What does that mean for Trimet? It means less revenue. There's no way to avoid it. We are going to have less revenue coming in. We're experiencing it right now on the fare side. The payroll tax revenue is kind of a lagging source of revenue. So we haven't quite yet felt it. I say it's lagging because we don't get it all at once. We get it in quarterly payments from the state. So we're doing okay right now, but our next quarterly payment in the summer is going to be coming, and the expectation is it'll be quite a bit lower due to these unemployment claims. And there's just no way to avoid that kind of reduction in revenue without it impacting service. We just can't do it.
Yeah, well,
so knowing,
see,
and,
no,
to
okay,
be honest with you,
stop the presses. Notice how he didn't say anything about capital projects. Didn't say anything about technocracy. He's just talking about service. We have to be exposed to this over and over and over and over. How when it comes to services for the people, it gets cut. Everything else maintains itself. This is the same shit we see on every fucking level of this goddamn pandemic. Okay, the corporations, they all got fucking more money than they'll ever need. The military, of course, didn't lose a damn penny in any of this. But when it comes to what the people of America need, they always lose. Always.
If people aren't riding, it makes the most sense for us not to spend as much money and hold on to that money now, and we can use that to help us when maybe the economy is opening up.
That's right.
And the payroll tax, as I said, is a lagging revenue source. If we can save a little bit of money now, that can maybe help us later when we're trying to bridge between the economy opening up and our payroll tax lagging. So we talked about it internally. Our general manager gave us direction to reduce service by approximately 20%.
Yeah, see what's cut? No capital projects cut. This is important. They're just cutting what the people need. This is what's important. This is what always happens. It happened in 2007. And McFarlane gave himself a raise while he was cutting everybody else. This is how morally bankrupt and horrible the people that are running our systems are. And you see it play out on the Trimet level as well as the state and the federal levels. The same thing plays. It's the same thing at every fucking level of government. The special interests are covered. Service to the people is cut. Same thing over and over.
One of his priorities was that we preserve the network as much as possible. He did not want to see wholesale elimination.
Yeah, the king of Trimet. We have to ask the general manager. I mean, why would you ask the public about any of this? You have this motherfucking empire builder here who's not even from Portland or even from the United States in charge.
Eliminations of service across the network, except for one line, which we all kind of agreed was the appropriate thing to do, and that was to eliminate the line 272 PDX night bus. That is the bus line that goes from the Monteville.
Yeah, as our friend Ron pointed out, Telemichus Rome, this is the second time in his life that Trimet has removed 24-hour service. This is the second time that they've done it. First time they did it was because they were putting in light rail, and it was gone for years. I mean, it was gone for what, 30, 26, 90, like 30 years. And then they just reinstated it, and the first thing to go is that, of course. This is how morally bankrupt our fucking government technocracy is.
Neighborhood, it travels up 82nd Avenue, and it goes to the airport, and it connects with the line. Well, it was connecting with the line 20 with its overnight service, and with the Blue Line Max, or the Max Blue Line. Part of the rationale for discontinuing this line was people aren't going to the airport right now. As much difficulty as we're facing,
get rid of the red line.
I believe that PDX is facing even a steeper decline. And so our general manager, Doug Kelsey, did agree that line was acceptable for us to eliminate that line. But the rest of the network stays in place. The network is still has been preserved, and so we're excited and proud of that. We did, though, also choose to eliminate the service on the overnight service on lines 20 and 57. So those lines still run quite late. I believe the 20 still runs until 2 in the morning, but there's no longer a 3 in the morning trip or a 4 in the morning trip, and the same with the 57. Surprisingly, there was some ridership on that. Not surprisingly, but it was maybe a little higher than I did expect. But overall, it still is a low ridership trips, and it just didn't make sense to maintain them. So then, the question was, okay, well, what do we do with the rest of the service? How do we cut back? What is our approach going to be? And if you look around the country, a lot of transit districts have just taken their weekday service and they shifted it to Saturday service, Saturday levels. So weekday service, operating on a Saturday schedule, and weekend service operating on a Sunday schedule. And that, frankly, was kind of our initial thought. Hey, let's do that. But then we thought about it some more, and frankly, I will say I was heavily influenced by this article that I came across that actually was forwarded to me by other Trimet staff about the T in Boston and what they have done. And they did just that. They shifted weekday service to a Saturday schedule. And this article pointed out that, hey, in low-income communities, equity communities, communities of color, communities where people don't speak English as their first language, these are communities where people are more likely to continue riding transit service. We know that, right? And folks are, while you'll see ridership decline in these communities, it will not decline like it will in, say, non-equity communities. And with our need to social distance, you're going to have, you're not going to be able to do that on these bus lines. You're going to have more people crowded on the bus lines. So they'll have less service, they'll be crowded, and potentially passing the virus to one another. And so this became a real concern, and it became a real focal point for us in how we were going to go about reducing service in the region. We decided what we wanted to do is, as much as possible, preserve weekday service in equity communities so that we can allow for the social distancing. And because there's a higher ridership, making sure that they
I don't
have quality service. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that we were serving hospitals throughout the region. Even if patients aren't going there, we know that that some of the folks who work at the hospitals will be using transit. And then lastly, we wanted to continue to serve job centers as much as possible, particularly job centers that have kind of low and middle wage jobs. Again, those workers are more likely to still ride transit, and we want to make sure that they're able to do so, have quality transit, and have the ability to socially distance on board. A perfect example of that is, say, up in the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, where there's an Amazon facility, a large Amazon facility, which I believe Amazon is hiring and right now. Those folks are working day and night right now, and a lot of those folks are still riding transit service. We've seen a dip in ridership, but it's not nearly like what you see on some other lines. All
right, well,
we thought it was important to continue serving those job centers.
All right, well, we've had enough of you, Mills.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So how do we do this? How do we even know what an equity line is? What's our process?
How do you know
that? We're fortunate in that, probably close to 10 years ago now, we developed, staff at Trimet developed an equity index. And that was developed in partnership with our Transit Equity Advisory Committee. And what that index does is it looks at 10 different factors. You see them here on the screen: low-income population, people.
Not sure why you're not seeing what I'm seeing. There's
seniors, etc. And it scores our bus lines based on these factors. Basically it scores
that's not Trump.
the population within a quarter mile walking distance of
these are all Trump.
And that score is then attributed to the line.
Not sure why you're.
The scores are not weighted, so every factor in this index is the same weight as another factor. So each line has a score, and that way we are able to tell what our equity lines are. One thing I will point out, for low-income population, we view low income as 200% of the federal poverty level. At the federal level,
all right, I've had enough. He's just he's a Trimet apologist, technocrat, career technocrat. You're not going to get any real accurate information from any of these people. And so I'm going to terminate this because I don't want to listen to the whole thing. And we got the scanner up.